Welcome to another edition of Garage Pros. I'm Joe Michael, and today we're going to replace the oil pan gasket on this 2006 Toyota Camry. First we're going to drain the oil, then we'll remove the bolts, take the pan off, clean the gasket surfaces, reinstall the gasket, replace the pan, replace the oil. So that's it. Car had an oil leak. You can see all the oil around on the chassis, so before you get out from underneath there, you want to go ahead and spray it down with a good brake parts cleaner. Get all that oil off, just soak it on there. Wipe down any heavy stuff with a rag. Okay, so we're going to remove these 10mm bolts around the pan, and then we'll go ahead and take it off the engine. Okay, so we've got all the bolts out. We're going to go ahead and separate the oil pan from the engine block. So you want to get yourself a little flat bar, a screwdriver, and gently tap in between the oil pan and the engine block. You'll hear it start to come off. All right. Then you want to pull down gently. Starts to separate. Just lower the pan. This one here you have to turn it a little bit. Bring it out. You dump the oil out into the bucket. And there'll be a little bit left in here. Rinsing it out a little bit with brake clean before I put it in the parts washer. So we're going to go ahead and run the parts washer here. I'm going to take a little Scotch-Brite. Clean the inside of this pan out. Okay, so next we have to clean off all this extra sealant that's on the engine block. This is aluminum, so you don't want to gouge it, so use a scraper, gasket scraper, and lightly clean all the extra sealant that's on the block off. Okay, so after you scrape the gasket off of the engine block, what you want to do is you want to take a little lacquer thinner, brake clean, something, and a clean paper towel, soak it, and you want to wipe this block down so you have a good clean surface for it to seal. So we're going to go ahead and wipe all the way around. Everything is good. You don't have any nicks in the aluminum. Okay, now we can go ahead and put the gasket on the pan, and we'll put the pan on the car. So you have to clean the pan as well. Most of this is already cleaned off, but you'll see a few spots on here we still need to clean. So you want to make sure that there's nothing really left on this pan. So we'll scrape these little pieces here off. Then you want to wipe this all down with lacquer thinner, so this is clean. You could use brake clean, use a rag, clean towel. Wipe this surface down. Okay, let that dry. Get your gasket. Tube sealer. First thing you want to do, see which way your gasket goes on. Check to make sure it's actually the right gasket. It fits, all the holes line up. Okay. Then what we're going to do is what I do is I use some spray adhesive to stick the gasket. Just spray a little on. Spray a little around the edge of the pan. Leave it tack up for a few seconds. And then this way, press it onto the part. Take a little more lacquer thinner, and then just wipe the pan out. This way your gasket, you don't have to worry about it falling off while you're putting it on. So this gasket, Felpro, it comes with a tube of black RTV, so it's recommended to use that with their product. We're going to go ahead and put this on. Manufacturer recommends using the RTV with it as well. So we're going to go ahead and put a bead of RTV on here. What you want to do is you want to run a bead around here. You want to make sure that it runs behind the holes. So we're going to go ahead, run a bead through here. As long as it's about 1/16 of an inch thick. You don't want to get it too heavy. You do have a gasket. This is more or less just to cover any imperfections. You want to run the bead through here. You can kind of put some around the holes here just to make sure that the bowl hole itself doesn't actually leak. Now you don't want to smear this with your finger. You want to leave it like this. Let it tack up for a few minutes and till it gets a little bit of a skin on it, so that when you press this up against the block, it'll squeeze into any imperfections and you won't have a leak. All right, so we got the RTV on. They recommend installing it before 5 minutes. You don't want to let it set more than 5 minutes. We got a little skin on here. You can see it sort of dulled out. So we're going to go ahead and put this on. So you want to get a couple bolts ready. Try not to rub your RTV silicone off. Okay, so once we have the pan lined up, you want to get a couple of bolts started. We've got one here. And we'll put one on the back. All right. Okay, so we're going to get these bolts all hand started. Make sure you don't cross thread these. They're pretty easy to do. On a couple of these, you're going to have a hard time getting to them, so what you're going to have to use is a short socket, 10 millimeter, and a swivel. And there's a stud right here, so helps you line the pan up. Okay, so you're gonna, when you tighten these down, you want to go around. You want to alternate. So what you want to do is give it a couple of turns here. We want to tighten the pan down evenly. So we're going to go around, and you're going to, just to where they lightly seat the bolt. Okay, we've got them all lightly seated, so We're going to tighten these up, but you don't want to over tighten them. Once they have fully seated, then you're just going to give them a slight little snug. The sealer that's on there is going to take care of any leaks that would happen along with the gasket and imperfections in the block.